I'll never forget how much hype Godzilla vs. Kong had prior to its release. At this point in time, I was a senior in high school, and I vividly remember people debating whether or not Godzilla or Kong would win. Of course, people knew that I was the Godzilla lore master, so they would ask me for my take on this upcoming clash. My answer was simple. Godzilla is the clear winner, but I think they'll nerf him to make the fight more fair and then have the two monsters team up to fight a bigger threat. At the time, I was fully expecting that bigger threat to be Destroyah, since the oxygen destroyer was used in the last movie, but I was pleasantly surprised to find out that a different legacy Toho monster would be used. I remember when the first trailer dropped. I was actually on set for my second feature film, Pesticide, and we basically stopped everything we were doing to watch it. Me and the boys saw the movie on opening night, and at the time, I absolutely loved it. The movie was everything I wanted it to be and expected it to be, and then some. However, as time dragged on, I realized that the magic was wearing off, and I wasn't all that big of a fan of the movie. But I still loved it in spite of all the issues that I had with it. So, without wasting any more time, let's get right into it. This is Godzilla vs. Kong. The film starts with Kong waking up on Skull Island as The Air That I Breathe by the Hollies plays. He walks around and does Kong things before throwing a tree at the sky, revealing he's actually in a biodome of sorts. Monarch has been confining Kong in a simulated habitat dome where a young orphan named Gia has been bonding with him through sign language. It's revealed that as a result of King Ghidorah, Skull Island has been ecologically ravaged by storms, and the Iwi natives have been wiped out as a result of that and partially the Skullcrawlers. Meanwhile, in Pensacola, Florida, Godzilla appears and begins wreaking havoc. While this does appear out of character for the Big G, he's mainly targeting Apex Cybernetics Laboratory. Apex is sort of a stand-in for Elon Musk and his various tech companies. Even the film's human villain, Walter Simmons, is very much an Elon Musk-type character. Anyways, amidst the chaos, Bernie, an Apex Cybernetics employee and conspiracy podcaster, uncovers sinister activities, which gives a reason as to why Godzilla is attacking. They're building a machine to replace Godzilla, but what is that machine? Well, we'll find out later. The public's trust in Godzilla wanes, prompting Apex's CEO to pledge protection against the Titan. I think you know where this is going. Meanwhile, Madison Russell, spurred by her father's dismissive stance on Godzilla, teams up with her friend Josh to uncover the truth behind Godzilla's aggression and Apex's secrets. Elsewhere, Walter recruits Nathan Lind, a Hollow Earth theorist, to harness its energy against Godzilla. Reluctantly, Nathan enlists Kong's aid, persuading Eileen Andrews and Gia to guide them. Their journey leads to confrontation when Godzilla attacks on open water. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. I was so worried about Godzilla being nerfed in this movie in order to make the fights more fair, but this sequence showcases that Godzilla is more than capable of outright killing Kong without any issue, especially when he's in the water. There are so many points where Kong nearly dies, and I was shocked the film even went that far. He's very clearly supposed to be the protagonist, and we're supposed to root for him, and Godzilla is kinda sort of the bad guy up until the end, so seeing them go this far was fantastic in my opinion. The only reason that Kong even survives this fight is just by playing dead. Lind and the team then go to Antarctica, where they seek Kong's entrance to the Hollow Earth. Kong is reluctant and confused, but Gia ultimately points him in the right direction, and they end up in Hollow Earth. Now, I, for one, love this concept, and I love the world within our own world, but I know that some people really, really hate this. One of the bigger complaints that I've heard is that people say there's natural sunlight, and that's a massive plot hole because how can there be sunlight in the center of the Earth? But the explanation in the official Godzilla vs. Kong art book makes a lot of sense. The book says that there's a storm above acting like a fake sun, giving everything a natural glow. It adds to the mystery and it makes the whole thing feel even more fantastical, which is perfect for a movie like this. And also it's like, it's a world in the center of our world. It's a hollow earth. Like, come on. Like, there's giant monsters in this movie. The fact that that is too unrealistic for you kind of concerns me. Some people have also argued that this take on Hollow Earth retcons the Hollow Earth that was talked about in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Now, I would argue that it's not so much a retcon as it is a natural progression of the lore within the Monsterverse. In King of the Monsters, we were introduced to the concept of Hollow Earth as a series of interconnected tunnels beneath the Earth's crust. But in my opinion, I don't think that was necessarily true. That was just Monarch's theory at the time. It was an incomplete theory. And they really only discovered that that wasn't the case in this movie right here. Instead of being a bunch of tunnels, it's actually a world in and of itself. But the best part, the most glorious aspect of Godzilla vs. Kong is, no doubt, its third act, which can only be described as the goofiest thing to ever come out of Hollywood in recent memory. It starts with Godzilla drilling a hole through the center of the earth with his atomic breath. Kong and Godzilla then battle. Kong wields this axe that's made from one of the ancestors of Godzilla's dorsal plates, as the two titans then face off in a battle for the ages amidst the neon-lit skyline of Hong Kong. And the film just reaches peak absurdity. It's sheer lunacy, and yet it's utterly delightful. I love the way Godzilla maneuvers and fights like a crocodile, while Kong uses the skyscrapers to his advantage. It takes what could be a very boring and one-dimensional fight and turns it into a dynamic action set piece. Godzilla ultimately wins the fight and nearly kills Kong, but their battle shifts when Mechagodzilla, controlled by Ghidorah's essence, emerges. It's basically revealed that this is what Apex has been building. They've been making a Mechagodzilla. Kong's revival, aided by a surge of energy, turns the tide in the battle, as Godzilla was getting his ass kicked here, but he and Godzilla managed to defeat Mechagodzilla in a fantastic sequence. Never in my life did I think I would get to see Kong decapitate Mechagodzilla, but here we are. After the fight, Godzilla and Kong go their separate ways, ushering in a new era of peace among Titans, as Kong rules Hollow Earth and Godzilla rules the Earth. Wait, are you tired of feeling like your online privacy is as secure as a post-it note on a busy street? Picture this. Browsing the internet without protection is like traveling with a see-through backpack. Everyone can see where you keep your wallet. But fear not, because today's video is sponsored by Private Internet Access, your virtual bodyguard in the digital world. So, what exactly is a VPN? Well, it's a lot like a cloak of invisibility for your internet connection. With Private Internet Access, your IP address is hidden and your online activity is encrypted through a secure tunnel, shielding you from prying eyes and data thieves. Think about those public Wi-Fi networks at airports or coffee shops. They're a goldmine for hackers lurking in the shadows, ready to snatch your personal data quicker than you can say password 123. But with Private Internet Access, your data stays safe and sound, even on sketchy networks. Their world-class server infrastructure encrypts your connection, making your information as bulletproof as Godzilla. And here's the kicker. Have you ever missed out on binge watching your favorite shows because of regional restrictions? With Private Internet Access, you can wave goodbye to geo-blocks and say hello to unlimited content from around the globe. From streaming services to online deals, Private Internet Access lets you access it all with just a click of a button. And with support for all major platforms, you can protect every device in your household or workspace. And did I forget to mention their commitment to privacy? With over 30 million downloads, Private Internet Access is the most transparent VPN provider out there. They never log your data, and their no-logs policy has stood the test of time. Plus, signing up for Private Internet Access is risk-free, with their 30-day money-back guarantee and 24/7 customer support at your fingertips. Speaking from personal experience, this is the best VPN that I've ever used. So, why wait? Protect your digital life today with Private Internet Access. You can use my referral code www.piavpn.com/firewood to get 83% off Private Internet Access with 4 months free. You heard that right. 4 months free. Remember, when it comes to your privacy, don't leave it to chance. Choose Private Internet Access. Godzilla vs. Kong certainly takes a page out of the playbook of the later Showa-era films of the Godzilla franchise, like Godzilla vs. Gigan and Godzilla vs. Megalon. These films were known for their outrageous plots, over-the-top action sequences, and a general sense of gleeful absurdity. Not a bad thing, mind you. I love this. Godzilla vs. Kong revels in its own chaos, delivering a spectacle that's as nonsensical as it is entertaining. It's really funny looking back to Godzilla 2014, which harkened back to the somber tone of the original 1954 film, being more grounded and having Godzilla represent a force of nature and a symbol of nuclear devastation, as well as the consequences of human arrogance. That film was more focused on character development and building tension through suspenseful sequences. But in Godzilla King of the Monsters, the 2019 film, it shifted gears towards the more bombastic style of the early Showa era films, like Invasion of the Astro Monster, while still incorporating themes of human hubris and environmentalism. It ramped up the monster action and embraced the fantastical elements of the franchise. The inclusion of multiple classic monsters like Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah signaled a return to the epic monster battles that defined the series, but Godzilla vs. Kong takes all of this even further by throwing caution to the wind and fully embracing the campy, over-the-top spirit of the later Showa-era films. The plot becomes increasingly absurd, featuring telepathic control, hollow Earth expeditions, and a robotic Mechagodzilla powered by the consciousness of King Ghidorah. It's a far cry from the grounded approach of the 2014 film, but it aligns perfectly with the zany charm of its Showa predecessors. Godzilla vs. Kong is directed by Adam Wingard, and I will admit that I was incredibly skeptical upon hearing that he would be helming the project. The only other films from his filmography that I've actually seen are The Blair Witch and Death Note, and both of those I just did not like whatsoever. From my understanding, he also directed some segments for the first two VHS films, and while I love the VHS movies, I was also just hesitant because even those can be a mixed bag. However, I think he did a decent job, but this is a bit lackluster in terms of scale. In Godzilla vs. Kong, the visual effects undoubtedly stand out as a highlight, showcasing the epic clash between the two iconic titans in stunning detail. Yet, despite the spectacle, the film falls short in capturing the same sense of scale that was expertly executed in Godzilla 2014 under the direction of Gareth Edwards. One of the defining features of Edwards' approach to Godzilla was his meticulous attention to scale. Through carefully crafted cinematography and clever framing, Edwards emphasized the sheer enormous size of Godzilla and the Mutos, making every encounter with the creatures feel truly monumental. From the towering skyscrapers that served as a backdrop to Godzilla's epic battles, to the deliberate pacing that allowed for moments of quiet awe. Godzilla 2014 masterfully conveyed the magnitude of its titular monster. Camera placement also played a really big part too. In Godzilla 2014, the camera was never in a place where a cameraman couldn't realistically be. The same can't be said for Godzilla vs. Kong, which has the camera whipping around like a video game cutscene. There's just a noticeable lack of emphasis on the scale of the monsters. The film certainly delivers on the spectacle front, with epic showdowns between Godzilla and Kong that are visually stunning. However, the cinematography often feels more focused on delivering flashy action sequences rather than conveying the enormity of the creatures. I also think the overall pacing and editing of Godzilla vs. Kong can sometimes hinder the sense of scale. Rapid cuts and frenetic action sequences prevent the audience from fully appreciating the size of the monsters, leading to moments that are somewhat diminished in comparison to the awe-inspiring spectacles of both the 2014 film and King of the Monsters. Another aspect that really falls flat for me is the film's score by Tom Holkenborg, also known as Junkie XL. The score, with its jarring notes and uninspired melodies, fails to capture the essence of Godzilla, instead feeling more like a cheap imitation of the iconic compositions by Akira Ifukube. Firstly, Junkie XL is known for his high-energy and electronic sound. It just doesn't mesh well with the grandeur and gravitas of Godzilla. His bombastic and frenetic compositions, while well suited for action movies like Mad Max Fury Road, which is a movie I adore and will probably do a video on soon, feel out of place in a Godzilla movie where a more orchestral and traditional approach would have been more appropriate. Furthermore, the score lacks originality and fails to leave a lasting impression. Rather than crafting themes that are unique to the monster versus Godzilla, Junkie XL's compositions come across as generic and forgettable. They lack the emotional depth and thematic resonance that defined Ifukube's iconic scores, leaving the audience longing for the stirring melodies and haunting motifs that have become synonymous synonymous with the king of the monsters. This specific sentiment is echoed by the numerous fan edits on YouTube, where fans have replaced his score with the classic Godzilla themes, and it results in a vastly improved viewing experience. The fact that so many fans feel compelled to seek out alternative scores speaks volumes about the inadequacy of this score. Despite Junkie XL's intentions to create a Godzilla theme that lived and breathed the history behind monster movies, the end result just falls short of capturing the essence of the character. And instead of emphasizing the power and majesty of Godzilla, the score feels disjointed, and it fails to evoke the awe and wonder that should accompany the appearance of the iconic monster.
Hooray! That was great, Squidward! All those wrong notes you play made it sound more original.
What? I didn't play any wrong notes.
Yeah, see, you're playing it like this. When ordinarily it goes like this. I'm partially doing it in the key of A minor myself.
The acting in this film generally falls within the realm of passable, though Brian Tyree Henry's portrayal of Bernie stands out as a highlight. He injects this energy and humor into his role, bringing a sense of charm and charisma to the character, who's this crazy conspiracy theorist with a penchant for uncovering secrets. His performance adds a layer of depth to the film, providing moments of levity amidst the chaos of the monster battles. Every scene he's in, he just steals the show. But the film struggles with underutilizing certain characters, like Ren Serizawa. Ren is the son of the late Ishiro Serizawa, who's a character that was extremely important in the last two movies, and yet these familial ties and ideological differences are just never brought up. Ren is given no backstory whatsoever. He has hardly any lines, and it just leaves the audience with more questions than answers. Serizawa, his father, was so invested in the kaijus and wanted and was like an advocate for them being alive. And meanwhile, his son here is like, no, I want to help this Elon Musk guy kill all the kaijus. It's like, how did this happen? I want to know what friction happened. And it's disappointing because he's ultimately killed before we can really get any answers. His arc is just unresolved and unsatisfying. It's like, why even include him in the movie if you're just going to use his last name and then kill him? Like, it's stupid. Something else that's really odd is the fact that the late Lance Reddick appears in the film very briefly, and he's known for his roles in acclaimed series like The Wire and Fringe, but his character is given minimal screen time and only has a few lines of dialogue. It's revealed that Reddick's character had a larger role, but that ended up on the cutting room floor. The characterization of both Godzilla and Kong adds depth and intrigue to the epic clash between the two titans. Godzilla in particular is portrayed in a manner that emphasizes his animalistic nature and primal instincts, moving with the deliberate predatory grace of a crocodile. Godzilla feels like a real threat to Kong and the human characters that are caught in the crossfire. But what I like is that they don't make him outright unlikable. They don't make him a villain. Instead, he's depicted as a creature just defending his title as the Alpha, driven by instinct rather than malice, though he can still be a bit of a hater, and I love that. On the other hand, Kong emerges as a compelling protagonist, evoking empathy and rooting interest from the audience. He's the underdog in the battle against Godzilla. He becomes a symbol of resilience and determination. His struggles against the overwhelming power of Godzilla elicit a sense of sympathy and admiration, making viewers eager to see him triumph, myself included, even if I do love Godzilla more. This characterization of Mechagodzilla is nowhere near my favorite, but it still adds an intriguing dynamic to the film. Mechagodzilla's menacing presence and formidable abilities serve as a formidable threat to both Godzilla and Kong, raising the stakes of the showdown. Both Godzilla and Kong need to team up in order to take him down. They both can't take him on solo, and that's very clearly shown several times, as Godzilla is almost killed by him, and same with Kong. The brief moment where Mechagodzilla laughs in a menacing way adds a chilling layer to the character, highlighting its sinister nature and enhancing the tension of the climactic battle. Sure, this is basically King Ghidorah's essence controlling him, but Mechagodzilla still feels like a robotic killing machine with a subtle homicidal personality. I understand why this movie is so controversial among both Godzilla and Kong fans, but I also understand why people love it so much. Sure, the film is no doubt riddled with plot holes, questionable character motivations, and dialogue that's as cheesy as it gets, but therein lies the charm. Godzilla vs. Kong isn't trying to be high art or intellectual cinema. It's not trying to be Godzilla -1, even though that movie didn't come out yet, but you get what I'm saying. It's not trying to be Shin Godzilla or Godzilla 1954. It's a throwback to the later Showa era films from the Godzilla franchise, but also works as a great popcorn flick of the highest order. It's a guilty pleasure. It knows exactly what it is, and it doesn't pretend to be anything else. With all of that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. Consider becoming a member to support the channel. For just $1.99 a month, you'll receive member shoutouts and your name featured as an executive producer in all of our film projects. There's also going to be member-only videos as well as exclusive behind-the-scenes content that you won't find anywhere else. As a lifelong fan of the Godzilla franchise, there have been Godzilla films with fantastic human characters. The original 1954 film, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla and Shin Godzilla, are highlights in my eyes, though nothing comes close to 2023's Godzilla -1. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's just an extra perk for anyone that wants to support the channel, while also getting to see some unique content. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.